Truth Unveiled here, and today I have some important stuff to share with you. We're going to once again be talking about the upcoming eclipse and its prophetic significance because, again, folks, it's not coming, it's now here. Judgment for America is even at the door, especially with the new year beginning and with this eclipse coming to also bear witness of it. We're also going to be telling you not only the prophetic significance, but the spiritual significance and how this could potentially lead up to the second greater exodus indeed, as noted in Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 11 as well. So for those of you who already do not know, this is just a reiteration that, again, there was already an eclipse that occurred in America back in 2017, back in the summer, that occurred from so-called west to east, this way going from north to south, as we know today. So the next one is going to go from south to north or west to east once again. And this one will be coming up as of a few weeks from now, if I'm not mistaken, within the next 18 or 19 days or so, coinciding with an appointed time as well. It's going to coincide with unleavened bread. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And so this eclipse is going to go this way. And this is when, of course, the sun will be darkened by the moon that will create a total solar eclipse over America, over the shaded regions as you see right here. Now, you notice a few interesting things about this. Again, folks, we've been reporting on this stuff for years now, years plural, and now it's finally here indeed. So again, the prophetic thing about this is that first of all, it makes an X. Why is that prophetic? You're going to find out in a moment to come. Not only that, but look at the area. Note the area that it's in southern Illinois. Why might that be of prophetic significance? Not only that, but you also see an interesting pattern as well with these eclipses. You see that it will make an Al, or what they call Aleph in the Jewish, but that's the first letter of the Yahudyth, or also a Paleo Hebraic alphabet, which has then been, of course, translated and transliterated into Aleph in the modern Hebrew today. So again, the first eclipse occurred in 2017. This was the total solar eclipse, but then there was an annular solar eclipse that occurred back in October of 2013, so just about 5 months ago this time. And then in a few weeks, there's going to be the total solar eclipse, the second total solar eclipse that will occur in 2024. Now, isn't that interesting? Because if you tilt your head a little bit to the right, you see what makes the Al letter. Again, these are letters in the Al-Bath and the Yahudyth alphabet, also known as the Paleo Hebrew. That's the first one. That's where you get the letter A from. If you're interested in our Yahudyth 101 course, we talk about that letter extensively, and both letters extensively, because in the Yahudyth pictographic chart, you see that the first letter is Al, also known as the Aleph today. It has a numeric value of number 1. It's where you get the Latin A from, and pictographically, it symbolizes ox or an ox head, or strength, power, and strong, and this is how the letter looks. Very interesting that this letter looks just like all three eclipse paths that will occur in America. Definitely not a surprise or a coincidence. And then also the final letter right here is the Thoo or Tha that looks like an X. X marks the spot, has a numeric value of 400. This is the final letter of the Al-Bathar alphabet, and pictographically means mark, sign, or Brayath, covenant. So why is that so important? Because again, what does Yahusha the Messiah say in the word? That he's what? The beginning and the end, the first and the last. Wow, definitely not a surprise or a coincidence there whatsoever. Why is the number 400 so significant? We've been talking about it on this channel for only the past 8 to 9 years or so, but about 400, where do you find that in scripture? That's right, Brashith, Genesis 15, 13 through 14, and also Acts chapter 7, verses 6 through 7, that what does Yahuwah say, and what did Yahuwah promise to Abraham, that you can also find in the Apocalypse of Abraham as well. He promised him that what? That his people would be where? In a foreign nation where they would be slaves for 400 years. And then that nation would be judged. So could this very well be the 400th year? Could this very well be the year that America is finally judged with the eclipse bearing witness? But that's not the only symbolism and the only prophetic and spiritual significance about this eclipse. Because we're also here at this website where it says the crux of the eclipse is Little Egypt's 7-year itch. So this is the reservoir near Carbondale, Illinois, that's about to experience the first of two totalities. It already happened in 2017, and then another one in 2024. Once again, these 7 years. But notice how, again, Southern Illinois, what is that area known as? The path where the two eclipses make the X and the path where the two eclipses cross is known as Little Egypt. Very interesting and suspicious indeed that it's known as Little Egypt. Why is that so important and prophetic? Because again, when you know who the real people of Scripture are, when you know where they are, and when you know where they've been scattered to and where they've been enslaved for the past 400 years now, then Scripture starts to make sense indeed, and prophetic judgments also start making sense indeed too. Because Southern Illinois, this area, is not only known as Little Egypt, it's also known as where the two eclipses will make the X again, and that X is the so-called Tav or the Thoo or Tha, the final Yahudyth letter of the Al-Bathar alphabet, with the numeric value 400, symbolizing also the 400 years that was prophesied in Scripture, as we just went over. But there's something also interesting about this area, is that this area is what? There was also slavery going on in this area as well, because there were enslaved so-called African Americans who worked on major plantations and rural culture around this region. Some settlers owned slaves before the territory was organized and slavery was prohibited. So wow, what does that tell you? It's telling you that it's time to wake up and see the truth that's right in front of you. Because not only that, but remember in 2017, barely a month after the first eclipse, as we went over on the original channel, there was also the Revelation 12 sign that also occurred in 2017 on September 23rd, 2017. This day was a Sabbath, or Shabbat, by the way, and there was this sign that occurred in the sky as well. The Revelation 12 sign that only occurs once every 7,000 years, by the way. In Revelation 12, 1-2 says, "And there appeared a great wonder in the Shamayim, or heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered." Now, for those of you who can remember and recall, on one of the backup channels, back in 2021, around Purim, or so-called Purim of 2021, so this would have been around the end of February, the beginning of March of 2021, as it's known in the Gregorian, we did a video, a Scriptures Often Ignored video. Again, that was a series that contained 120 parts to it. The last part had to do with Hadassah, or the book of Esther, chapter 9, and also had to relate to Revelation 12, because if you go on to Revelation 12 verse 6, it goes on to say that, "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by Allah to be nourished there 1,260 days. Then it goes on to say in verse 14, "And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle to fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the dwelling of the serpent." So isn't it interesting that Revelation 12, it mentions something like a dragon, and we're going to be going over the significance of a dragon when we talk about the Chinese New Year, because what year do they say that 2024 just so happens to be? You're going to find out in a moment to come. But again, in that video that was done in 2021, we talked about how those two timelines where it said 1,260 days and time, times, and half a time. The time, times, and half a time that it talks about in Revelation 12:14, that refers to 3.5 years. So we talked about those two prophetic timelines, and we noted how it was very interesting and suspicious indeed that if you go 1,260 days after September 23rd, 2017, you arrive around the time of Purim of 2021, and then 3.5 years after that, you arrive where? Around September of 2024. Wow, right in time for the fall appointed times. And by the way, which is trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. And by the way, those times have yet to be fulfilled in scripture. Wow, how prophetic. What perfect timing that it's going to be coinciding with the same year as the eclipse is going to make an X. X marks the spot. 400 years of slavery. Wow, what perfect timing indeed. Not only that, but also remember on this channel how we also discussed two other eclipses that will be occurring in Africa as well. The Great African Eclipse that will be occurring in 2027 and 2034 that also will make another X. Again, the Thoo, or the sign 400, X marks the spot for judgment. And notice over here how both of the X's, just like with Little Egypt, just like with Southern Illinois, marks the X right around where? Around the first Egypt. And then again, the X's for 2017 and 2024 in America mark an X where? Little Egypt, Egypt once again. Now remember, we did a post back in 2015 that talked about the proof that America is Egypt spiritually. And we noted certain things about America and Egypt and some of the similarities. Now, again, we noted how in Egypt, towards the middle of the country that goes all the way through the country is the Nile River. Where do you see that in America? The Mississippi as well, the Mississippi. But it goes deeper than that because on the Nile River, there is what? This town or city called Memphis, Egypt. Where do you see that? That's right, Memphis, Tennessee, the Memphis of America, and it just so happens to be sitting on where? On the Mississippi River. Also, within Memphis, there's also a statue of Ramses, who was an Egyptian deity who was worshipped at that time, and I think a pharaoh too, who was known all throughout Egypt. So why would they have a statue of Ramses in front of this pyramid in Memphis today? Again, this is right off the Mississippi River. And again, they're just like what? The pyramids of Giza as well. You also see the Sphinx and pyramid together, the Sphinx and pyramid in Egypt. Where do you see that? That's right, you see that in Las Vegas, Nevada as well. This is the picture of the Luxor in Las Vegas, and once again you see the pyramid, and then here you see once again the Sphinx right in front of it. So again, this is letting you know that America spiritually is Egypt. Along with on the dollar bill as well, you also see a pyramid with the all-seeing eye. And again, that represents the eye of Horus. Again, that eye that was also seen in Egypt as well. Again, this is all going back to the first Egypt. It's all full circle, but you see it on the dollar bill as well, the Egyptian symbology too. So how does all that information relate to Egypt, and how does that relate to the second eclipse that will occur? Well, again, we talked about this in our previous video where it says 2 more solar eclipses occurring in 2027 and 2034 both make another X 10 years after the one in America. So we noted from that video the solar eclipse that will occur on so-called August 2nd of 2027, and it'll go this way over Egypt, and it'll make the path of totality in southeastern Egypt as it's known today. Again, in Egypt, and like I said, I will link this video in the description box so that you will be able to see it on your own time, so that you will be able to see what I'm talking about if you already have not, or if you need a refresher on it. Now notice how the eclipse in Egypt in 2027 is going to be on the exact same path as the one in America from 2017. And notice how, again, the path of totality is is over a place and spot called Little Egypt. And over here, 10 years later, it's over a spot where, when it comes to Egypt once again. So again, I screenshotted it from the original video. And then there's this eclipse that will occur on March 20th, 2034. Interestingly enough, that coincides around the time of the new year. But this one is going the other way, that will be going over Egypt. Although its path of totality, I want to say, will occur in today's region of Chad, as it's known today. The interesting part, however, is that, again, it's going to go over that same region of southeastern Egypt. Notice again how it's on the same path as the American eclipse. So again, the second time with the American eclipse, with the one that will occur in just a few weeks from now in so-called 2024, will go this way, and the one in Egypt, or that will occur over Egypt, will go the exact same direction. Wow, very interesting and suspicious indeed, but it gets even deeper than that. Now, in that same video, we also took a look at the date durations between these eclipses, and we noted the stark similarities indeed between them. Because if you take a look at the first eclipses that will occur in America, the one that already occurred in 2017 and the one that will occur in just a few weeks in 2024, you'll see that between these dates is about 2,422 days. Now, let me ask you this question. For the eclipses that make an X over Egypt in the real Egypt, how many days is that? We get the same amount of days, 2,422 days, that will occur in 2027 in the first Egypt, and then 2034 in the first Egypt as well. So the two eclipses that will occur and make the X in the first Egypt, again, 2,422 days apart, the same amount of time as the one in America in 2017 and 2034. Notice how they're both exactly, basically 10 years apart as well. Not only that, but I also found very interesting that, again, the duration between the first eclipse that occurs in America from 2017 to the time that the first eclipse that occurs in the first Egypt in 2027, that time duration is 3,633 days. When you look at the eclipses that occur, the second eclipses in both places, so the one that will occur in 2024 in just a few weeks, and the second one that will occur in the Egypt in 2034, you see that, again, the duration between the two of them is the same, 3,633 days. Is that a surprise or a coincidence? I don't think so. It's not looking like it. The fact that they're both Egypt, the fact that they both have symbolism to Egypt, the fact that they both have Egypt references, Little Egypt for America and the first Egypt for the first one, around the place where the first Exodus occurs. What does that tell you? It tells you that they are synonymous indeed. It tells you that America and Egypt prophetically are synonymous. And again, they both make an X marks the spot, Thoo or Ta, 400 years. Remember back in 2019 on the original channel, we also talked about this article from USA Today from the cover that they did in February of 2019 in the so-called Black History Month 2019 special edition, where they mentioned the word Exodus and where they say migrations changed our nation. Once again, what are they alluding to? What do they know? Notice how they say 400 years ago, and that X that's going to be over America real soon just so happens to be the numeric value of 400. Wow, what perfect timing indeed. But if you thought the total solar eclipse was the only prophetic thing that coincides with 2024, it's time to think again, because there's something else that's also prophetic about 2024 indeed. Now, we've gone over this before when we talked about the real date, year, and location of our Messiah's death, burial, and resurrection. And we told you and showed you how it's the year 24 AD. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, please pause this video and take a look at the video that was already done and uploaded onto this network, onto this channel here, to learn more about it. But as of March 28th, 24 AD, and again, this is in the Julian calendar, this is not according to the Gregorian calendar, because there was no such calendar as as the Gregorian as of this time. So approximately 2,000 years ago this time, there was an eclipse that occurred where over so-called southeastern Africa. And again, when you know the significance of this region, and if you've been following along on this channel and network for years, you would know that this area is what the true scriptural locations. This is where much of scripture took place. This is the real true land of Canaan, and this is the land where Yahusha was. This is the land where the Messiah was. This is the land where pretty much all the scriptural events took place and happened and occurred. This is also the region near the real scriptural Yerushalayim or Jerusalem, located in southern Namibia as it's known today. This is where it all took place. And if you would like to learn more about that, please take a look at the videos on the Rumble channel that have been re-uploaded to learn more about that, because we just don't have time to go over it in this video today. However, the reason we're here is because, again, this eclipse more than likely coincided with Passover, the day that Yahusha died. Not only that, but that was what, 2,000 years ago? Didn't the word tell you in Hosea chapter 6 that what, after 2 days, that what, on the third day he will raise us up? And when a day is 1,000-year prophecy according to scripture, that also lets you know that what, after 2,000 years, that what, soon enough Yahusha, he will resurrect us for the third day. That's referring to the 1,000-year millennial reign. Could that year potentially start this year, this upcoming year? Well, only time will tell. But it's just interesting also that what, 2024 just so happens in the Lunar New Year, or with the Chinese New Year. Again, we do not celebrate this. However, the reason I'm here and talking about it is because this has to do with what? This has to do with prophetic significance. That what the Chinese New Year has to do is what? The year of the dragon. Didn't we just talk about that with Revelation 12 and the Revelation 12 sign? Didn't it mention a dragon as well? And it just so happens that 2024 will coincide with those timelines in Khazun, Revelation 12, following the Revelation 12 sign that occurred on September 23rd, 2017, as we've just gone over that. Again, after 1,260 days and after time times and half a time, you arrive around the time of September of 2024. And again, it just so happens to be dragon. What are they alluding to? What do they know? So if you're wondering about the calendar for this year, for 2024, here it is. Again, we just did a video on this as well, but we'll reiterate this again for those of you who are wondering. You can actually take a look at this right here just so that you'll be able to see it. So again, this calendar will give you all of the appointed times as well. Not only that, but it will also list when the days and months begin and their duration and etc. Also, it's important that I reiterate this too, because I think a few people are a little confused about this when they look at the calendar. Again, it's important that I reiterate that the calendar goes from sundown to sundown. So the first day of the month was from Tuesday, March 19th, all the way until Wednesday, March 20th, from sundown to sundown. So that means that the actual day, the actual Wednesday, like the full day, was actually the first day of the year, but it began the evening of Tuesday, March 19th, whatever time the sun went down for you. So again, when you take a look at these appointed times in Shabbats, for example, Passover is going to go for this entire day. So from the time that the sun goes down on April 1st, 2024, that Monday evening, all the way up until Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, when the sun goes down, for that 24-hour duration, or however long that duration is, that is going to be the duration of this day of Passover, and so on. So it's important that you understand that. Also, when it comes to months beginning, yes, the months begin Tuesday evening, but it goes all the way until Wednesday. For months 2, 5, 8, and 11, although it begins on Thursday evening, it goes all the way until Friday evening. So again, that entire Friday up until sundown is considered the first day of the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th months on these Gregorian days, as you see right here listed. And the same is true for the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th month as well. that for these, although it begins on a Saturday, it's after the Sabbath. It's not on the Sabbath, it's after. Consider that day one, going from May 18th, 2024, all the way until Sunday, sundown. May 19th, 2024. That's the first day of the third month. It will go for the duration of that entire Sunday up until Sunday at sundown. And when the sun goes down, it then will be the second day, and so on and so forth. So again, when you see that, that is what you are seeing. And again, we try to make it clear here as well. So like, for example, the Harvest Festival, yes, it starts on Saturday evening, July 13th. But again, this is not on Sabbath. This is right after the weekly Sabbath, and it goes until the evening of sundown of Sunday, July 14th, 2024. It's important that you remember that the Yahudyth calendar, that when days go from sundown to sundown, our day, so one Yahudyth day goes for 2 Gregorian days. It's important that you remember that and keep that in mind. I think some people are looking at this calendar and they see this and they assume or think that it's only one of these, it's only 1 Gregorian day. No, it's 2 Gregorian days. Why it does that, again, I have no control over that. I'm just here to let you know how it goes and how it has been done. Again, our enemies have done a number by switching things around, again, changing times and laws like the word said they would do, by making days begin at midnight and all that stuff, which is not scriptural. So again, that is that just prayerfully explains it, and prayerfully it clarifies this. Also, for those of you who are interested, we are starting the spring cohort this year for our Yahudyth 101 course. We also have course workbook material that is now available. So now we have the outlines for all 10 modules that are available. That is 104 pages long for the actual outline, and you can actually take a look at how the actual outline looks. As you can see from the modules, you have different charts that are going to help you and also going to enable you when it comes to your Yahudyth learning. There's also worksheets that will be available for you. That's 136 pages that will also be available unto you as well. That also will help strengthen your Yahudyth knowledge as well. We've also done a video on this recently on the channel that you can take a look at if you already have not seen that video, if you're interested in signing up for the course itself. The course itself is $300, and it will begin as of Sunday, April 14th, 2024. Again, if you would like to learn more about this, or if you would like more information about this, please take a look at the video that was done recently on this subject. That's also linked in the description box below, that will talk more about it and go over more about this course in detail into its entirety and what you can expect. But payment methods are available, and you're able to pay via Stripe as well. So this is the one if you're paying for the full course. If you would just like the worksheets and the workbook material, over 200 pages worth of material, that's at a discounted rate of $150. That's also available with Stripe here as well. You can also pay via PayPal or Cash App as well with Truth Unveiled 777. So this is my personal PayPal that will be linked in the description box as well. And also I'm available at Cash App at Truth Unveiled 777 as well. Or if you would just like to donate to the channel as well, you can definitely do so too with Cash App and PayPal also. Prayerfully, this video was helpful unto you. Please continue to seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because as you see, judgment is even at the door. But this is Truth Unveiled here, saying as always, Shalom.